5 ways to keep your quarantine workout routine going as you head back to work. Here are some tips to stay fit from your own living room. Home remedies for eczema and psoriasis. Relief: the dangerous truth about vitamins. How to reduce the spread of COVID-19. The worst foods for your tummy. 4 textbook signs your stomach pain is actually IBS. Fruits and vegetables that are best to buy in summer. 3 interesting facts about the human brain. Best remedies for a toothache. Foods that make your bones stronger. 4 ways your ovaries help keep your whole body healthy. 5 daily skin care habits that make your acne worse. Prevent headaches by following these rules. Apple cider vinegar as a beauty helper. 3 ways to turn ordinary used tea bags into miracle cures. As you get older, you might notice your shoulders, knees, and hips don't move quite like they used to. Once upon a time, you could bring your knee to your chest. Now you're lucky if you get it halfway there. Here's what you need to know about range of motion, plus some ways you can start to improve it. Range of motion is how much and to what extent a joint moves, explains Michael Goldstein, a physical therapist at the Hospital for Special Surgery in New York City. He says range of motion for any joint is determined by the limitations of the joint itself as well as the soft tissue structures around the joint, such as muscles and ligaments. Flexibility refers specifically to the ability of muscle, tendon, and connective tissue to lengthen or elongate through a range of motion. According to Ryan Tibbetts, MD, an orthopedic surgeon at Texas Orthopedics in Austin, there are 2 main types of range of motion, passive and active. Most of the motions you make on day-to-day basis are active, says Brian Schultz, MD, a sports medicine specialist and orthopedic surgeon at Cedars-Sinai Kurland Jobe Institute in Los Angeles. Passive motion is more common in a medical or training setting when a medical expert is examining a particular joint or treating someone, he says. For example, a trainer stretching an athlete. Think of this as the movements you make. Active range of motion is when you use the muscles surrounding a joint to exclusively power movement of the joint, explains Elizabeth C. Gardner, MD, an orthopedic surgeon at Yale Medicine, assistant professor at Yale School of Medicine, and head team orthopedic surgeon for Yale University Athletics. An example of this would be a person actively raising their arm above their head. Consider this assisted movement. Your body isn't actively moving the muscles, you have help. Passive range of motion is when the power to move the joint comes exclusively from an external source, such as when a physical therapist moves a joint during treatment, Dr. Gardner says. In other words, if you let your arm go limp and someone else raises your arm above your head for you, that would be passive range of motion. Though active and passive range of motion are the primary types, there's also a third type known as active assist range of motion. This is when the movement of the joint is partially powered by an external source and partly by the body's own muscles. Dr. Gardner notes, for example, if you lift your arm. Another example, if you use a resistance strap to help you stretch your hamstrings, that is also active assist range of motion. Range of motion plays an important role in various functional tasks, including reaching overhead, negotiating stairs, and rising from low chairs, explains Dr. Gardner. Basically, when your range of motion becomes limited in joints you use frequently, like your hips, knees, shoulders, elbows, and so on, it's harder to do everyday activities. Limitations can also cause compensatory movement patterns that put increased stress on other joints, which can lead to injury. Dr. Gardner points out, even if your range of motion isn't limited, it's still worth knowing about, particularly if you're an active person, so touching your back knee to the ground during a lunge, full range of motion, will produce better results than doing lunges where you don't go as deep. Partial range of motion. You know range of motion is important. But how do you get stuck with reduced range of motion? There are quite a few ways it can happen. As we age, we lose some elasticity in our soft tissue structures, which can contribute to decreased range of motion. Dr. Goldstein says, lack of movement and poor postural positioning can cause you to lose range of motion. Dr. Goldstein says, in other words, if you don't use it, you lose it. Other medical conditions that can cause reduced range of motion include fractures, broken bones, muscular injuries, ankylosing spondylitis, and inflammatory spine disease, and skeletal abnormalities. According to Dr. Schultz, experts agree that the joints most commonly affected by reduced range of motion are those impacted by sitting, the joints in the neck, upper back, shoulders, hips, and low back. This is common due to adaptive posture that we develop from prolonged sitting at a computer or having our head flexed and looking down at our phones, Dr. Goldstein says. These postures can contribute to upper back tightness and poor ability to extend into an upright position. This can also impact your shoulder range of motion, limiting your ability to reach overhead or behind your back. Knees, elbows, wrists, and ankles may also be affected, but this is more likely to be the result of injury or a medical condition. It's worth noting there is a range of what's normal for each joint. But, Dr. Schultz points out, there can be quite a bit of variability from person to person too. That's why, if you're unsure about whether range of motion is an issue for you, it's best to get checked out by a doctor or physical therapist. Looking for a quicker answer? One way to check if a part of your body is experiencing reduced range of motion is to compare it with the other side. Joints should have symmetric range of motion, Dr. Schultz says. So the right knee and left knee should have similar ranges of motion. There are a few key ways you can work to improve your range of motion on your own. If you're not seeing progress on your own or want personalized advice and exercises, getting the help of a professional, such as a physical therapist or orthopedic physician, is a good idea. The best way to improve range of motion is with consistent stretching, Dr. Gardner says. If you think about how much time we spend sitting in chairs or on the couch, a daily effort is needed. Ideally, to counteract this, her advice: pick a consistent time during the day to stretch, like when you first get out of bed. Active movement is key to bettering your range of motion. According to Dr. Goldstein, it's important to follow stretching up with active motion to maintain the improvements made from a stretching exercise. He explains, facial massage helps boost circulation and bring oxygen-rich blood to the skin. This is one of the most important aspects of a good professional facial, Collado says. But you can also incorporate it into your daily routine by applying your serum and moisturizer with upright strokes, from the base of the neck to the forehead. Makeup artists swear by this winter trick: opt for a sheer foundation one shade darker than your actual skin tone. This will deepen your complexion and bring a bit of warmth to your face. It won't look weird, we promise, as long as you make sure to blend around your jawline and neck. Avoid a full coverage formula, which can make you look like you're wearing a mask.